I do overall miss those movie tie-in games that we would see a lot more. You know, like back in the day, something like say those fantastic EA Lord of the Rings games, the Star Wars stuff like during the prequel era of films. Sure, there was a lot of junk and shovelware as well, but I miss the good ones and that potential to play and then see beyond the movie while playing these games too. Most of this stuff has sadly died off, with it only really being seen within the mobile space. But here I am playing a Terminator game, an RTS game, and it's honestly a gem of a title, an underrated and overlooked game that I think is a solid recommendation for both Terminator and RTS fans.
413 away fire! Covering fire! Losing good people here! Already hit!
Look, when you read the name of this title, Terminator Dark Fate Defiance, you probably thought the same thing I did. Wow, a game based on that horrible Terminator sequel. Look, I am a bit of an oddball. Yes, we all love Terminator 1 and 2. They are fantastic and tightly done films. When you look at the other films, this is when you start to see people diverge when it comes to what they like and don't like. Personally, I actually really enjoyed the following sequels. They do not measure up to the first two, but overall they are a good time, showing us different aspects like the war with Salvation, or maybe even a fun alternate timeline. But Dark Fate was one such sequel that I was not interested in at all. It had all of that modern crap thrown into the movie, and it felt kind of disrespectful to the series. I mean, if you've seen the opening, you know what I'm talking about. So when I saw this game, I'm like, really? They made a movie tie-in game for something like that? Well, maybe at least so far the game uses elements from the film, and is more focused on being a good game than anything else. Defiance sort of reminds me of those exceptions that we would have over the years, like say with The Mummy Demastered, which was a movie tie-in game for that god-awful Mummy movie, but the game was an incredibly awesome Metroidvania title. Or with Wolverine Origins, where the film wasn't so good but the game was killer. I was sort of getting the same feeling here playing Terminator Defiance. That's probably what I'm going to call it for the rest of this video, because we do not need to utter the words Dark Fate anymore. I think this game does a lot of things very well. One thing being is that it excels right from the start of the campaign, or even just booting up a skirmish match against the AI, is that the focus of this title is on survival. Right from the word go, you feel like humanity up against a wall. And this right here lets me know that the developers command and understand and respect the property that they are using. The campaign should feel dire, like humanity really doesn't stand a chance. I felt this from the word go. I was locked in and impressed with how the game conveyed this, with an excellent sense of atmosphere. While I have a bird's eye view of the action, I felt grounded with the soldiers I was commanding. Now, while I was hoping that this title was going to be more of a Command and Conquer style Terminator game, and while this game is not like that at all, there is no base building. That being said, being in a situation where you don't have a base, but rather just a selection of units, I feel like contributes to the setting, atmosphere, and world of Terminator. I do wonder if they'll ever add base building or even anything like this in a future expansion or maybe even in a sequel. So you will be in control of a large number of different units, from various infantry to deadly vehicles. I think Defiance rides a nice line where there is a lot going on. Lots of ways to get into the weeds with how you use your units, or you can opt to take a more streamlined look at the action. For example, the vehicles can be repaired. You can take cover in different buildings. If an enemy controls a structure, you can try to occupy it with them and have a battle indoors. The range of your units will depend on how much damage that you can do, and also when do you use your skills. Maybe you're trying to escape, and you throw down some smoke grenades to hinder the enemy's accuracy so that your units can get into a better position. Maybe you try to lay down some mines, set up a trap, bait the enemy into that position, and then significantly hurt the enemy forces. There's a lot of room for player expression and experimentation. The campaign seems more focused on providing a more direct experience, and you can still play around with how you complete stuff, but I felt like the skirmish mode is really where you get that initial clean slate, and then you figure out the best path to win a map, or even trying out different strategies and see if they work better over a prior attempt. Something else I want to point out is that while this game does have a bit of a budget-like feel to its presentation, what the game really gets right is the presentation department and the sound effects and atmosphere of the films. They nailed this, and it's great. While I enjoyed how the action started in the first campaign mission, I really loved the mini story that was at hand here. You are essentially covering a very early point in the war, and you get to see the rise of one of your commanding officers. But he he is just a cop and sort of just needs to stand up and take command of all sorts of people and get them all to serve him so that he can save as many people as possible. This had that macho 80s awesomeness that I miss in this sort of stuff. Seeing men rise up, take on adversity, it's awesome, and even though the game has a more AA or budget-like feel to some of the elements, it really brings out the heart and does this very well. I feel like we are getting into this weird period in gaming where we might be seeing a bit of a resurgence as it pertains to Terminator games, especially good ones. A few years ago, we got Terminator Resistance, which is easily one of my favorite games of the last several years. I loved it and will continue to sing its praises every day. And then another team is working on that survival game. And then another Terminator game just got listed last month, but there's no information about it. Hopefully those two turn out to be good. But right here, back to Defiance, I think we have a gem of a strategy game that has completely flown under the radar. It feels like it had absolutely no marketing behind it. I hope that through good word of mouth, we can get more attention on this title. The time that I have spent with it so far, it's a game that grabs the player right from the start, and most importantly, it's very fun right from the start. It does what it does very well, and it does show its budget in certain areas. I think its heart is put in the right place. We all know when we are playing a good game. In those situations, we tend to just want to keep playing that game. I felt that here with this title. I was taking more of a casual approach, but after a few campaign missions, I just wanted to dive into the skirmish mode, see how those were, and to my surprise, it's really good. And when you add on the many different ways that you can either defend a location, capture all of the zones, or just battle over one place, well, that extends the replay value too. I do hope that Defiance could get some good controller support at some point, because I think being able to put this game on the consoles would be another way for it to get more exposure. Terminator Defiance is a game, like I said before, that I found to be very easy to get into, while also having a lot to dig through as well, to really get into the weeds if you want. Sort of like it has that accessibility of a mainstream title, while also offering more for the more hardcore. And better yet, there are a lot of tutorial options, but you can also just opt to go into a skirmish mode and keep playing, because I found myself learning even more this way, sort of learning by doing without having much assistance. The game still seems to be supported through its newest expansion. I hope we see more from this title, and maybe even a sequel down the road. I might do some more videos on this game. Let me know if this is something you would like to see. What are your thoughts on Terminator Defiance? Have you heard of or tried this title? Let me know in the comments down below. If you're interested in supporting the channel, please check out my Patreon page. For just $1 a month, you can help to keep this channel going strong, and this allows me to be able to do more for my awesome audience. Please check out the links in the description and pinned comment for ways to support the channel. And most of all, thank you very much for watching.